Hey y'all, so I'm doing something different this time. This is a new concept. It's going to be called Chris Talks or Cdiggi Talks. I haven't decided yet. Like when this posts, then you'll have the title. Anywho, I'm basically going to have a guest every time I do this concept, and we're going to talk about stuff that I want to talk about. So my guest today and my first guest for this concept is Kevin, who is like my good friend, fellow gamer, fellow geek, etc. Welcome. So we are going to talk about Lovecraft Country, like basically a season review. We might have spoilers, so yeah, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Anywho, yeah, so welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I felt like I added you on for this because like you actually like read the source material. You know what you're talking about. I was like, I can't do this on my own. I gotta talk about this with somebody else too.
Yeah, so like it's such an interesting story, you know what I'm saying? Because it's one of those rare situations where the adaptation, in my opinion, is like better than the source material. You know what I'm saying? Because like
Yes,
it's so
that's very rare.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, I don't know if we should get into like book spoilers on this. Should I?
We can.
Yeah. All right. So
Well,
book spoilers, but like Atticus he doesn't die at the end of the book. You know what I'm saying? So he's actually alive, and Christina is actually Caleb, or I think Caleb, however you pronounce that name.
right, she's a man in the book.
Yeah, and then like she doesn't die at the end or anything like that. She does lose. I mean, he does lose his invulnerability or whatever. And he's banished from like going anywhere that's like populated with black people. So
But he's not the
like,
main villain though either, right?
Not really. It's more like Titus.
It was Lancaster, right?
Yeah, and Lancaster, and it was still like they still had similar arcs, but they had like very different, like they had different like resolutions. The time machine, for example, you only went through there once; they didn't go back again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then it's just like with Topsy and Bopsy, there was like it was instead like a doll, like a
Wait, Topsy Bopsy, what's that?
That was those are the two
those picky-headed twins with the lipstick, right? Oh my God, I wish somebody would have warned me to not watch that at night.
Oh, word. But you told me that you were trying to see it, like you used to see it every morning in general because it was just like, in the beginning it was mad intense, remember?
Well, yeah, because I have a very active imagination. That's why.
So you should have followed that train of thought and kept it to the morning. Especially with that episode because,
So just to preface everyone, Kevin loves horror. Mm-hmm. I do not like horror, but let me just start from the beginning. Like, so with Lovecraft Country, I had no idea what it was. My Sunday nights, like HBO has really been on a roll. HBO had, Watchmen, which I still need to watch. It had Insecure, I May Destroy You, and then we had Lovecraft Country. And I was just like, okay, this is like, an all-black drama. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So it starts out with like, 1950s, Jim Crow era stuff. And then by the end, I was completely shocked. Like when the monsters come in, I'm just like, whoa, what is this? And then the next episode, like episode 1 and 2 was basically like this whole movie. And then it has George dying. Again, if you're watching this right now, I told you spoiler alert, so it's your own damn fault. Anywho, so when he died, I was like, oh man, we just saw a whole movie in 2 episodes and there's 8 more episodes left. I love this series because they just do so much with the time they have, unlike certain shows. But
yeah. And like that's funny because there was an interview with Misha Green and she was saying how like when it comes to the episodic nature of the show, she was just like, people might be apprehensive and they might be like, oh, she's putting in too much or she's doing too much. But in the writing room, she's just like, no, we're doing too much because it's fun, it's good, it works. You know what I'm saying? And she's just like, let's do it, let's roll with that. So it's kind of just like episode 2 was very like, it was polarizing online, especially, you know what I'm saying? In the forums that I would visit, you know what I'm saying, or on Reddit and like places like that. people would go ahead and be like, oh, it was too much, it turned me off the show, it wasn't what I expected. But I'm like, from the first episode, it started with that dream where, you know, there was Cthulhu getting sliced in half with a hammer. I mean, with not a hammer, a baseball bat. You know what I'm saying? And I'm kind of just like,
Oh,
yo,
yeah. You
yeah.
know,
So
all the like characters and stuff like that. I had no idea what it started out as. I was just like, oh, so this is
yeah,
fantasy.
because they were all, those were characters in Lovecraft novels. You know what I'm saying, or fiction rather. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like Lovecraft, the author himself. It's
Who was a
interesting.
racist, right?
Yeah, racist as hell. Like even for his time, like people might argue against that and be like, "Oh, he's not as racist." Blah blah blah. Like, no, that's like, nah, it's not. Racist as hell, and he, like, oftentimes, like, his protagonists were like white men, and his antagonists, if there were minorities in the story, they would be like, you know, like kind of dumb. You know what I'm saying? They would be like antagonistic in the sense that they would like hinder the protagonist, you know,
Mm-hmm.
journey throughout this, like, you know, story, whatever. They were good fiction, but like he did the story about Red Hook in Brooklyn, for example. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And it was just like one of his most racist stories to date. So yeah, it's insane. But all of these monsters that he created, you know what I'm saying? They're open source now, I believe, meaning that you can, like, you know, you can use them without subjected to copyright. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so like this author, and he's not the only one, but this novel in general, like, you know, this story, it's just like it deconstructs him as an author and kind of just like projects, you know, his usual antagonist and the lens of a protagonist, you know what I'm saying, with
Okay.
the same gravity, with the same plateau, with the same, you know, personality as you would expect from like a nuanced character, you know what I'm saying, with the natural character art. But the genres that this show like takes, you know what I'm saying, from the
Right.
book, and even throws it even further, you know what I'm saying, like time travel, multiple dimensions, you know what I'm saying. And it's still, all of this is all in Lovecraft, like his fiction, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, his journey, all of that. It's like it's all in his fiction and all of that. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, this show had a ghost story, it had like an Indiana Jones type of story,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, it had like,
Monsters, demons, witchcraft,
yeah,
magic. And still,
everything.
and still out of all that, white people were still like the
The
worst.
scariest, the worst, the most capable, in a sense that's like, you know, and I feel like that was brilliant, you know, from the first episode. It was
Mm-hmm.
brilliant, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, yo, like you see, because like in the modern world, because people, you would go online and people would be like, oh, the racism is like, a caricature. It's forced. It's cartoonish. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, there's nothing cartoonish about that shit, because at the end of the day, if this was back in the day, those people, you know, Atticus, Letitia, all of them, they would have been dead, hung.
Right.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
some
From
of
the
the
first
shit,
episode.
like, well,
Yeah,
most
yeah,
of the shit happened. And that's
right.
what
You know,
really, like, I guess, pulled me in at least.
and
Like, this
probably
shit
even
really happened.
worse too, Chris. Like that's another thing too. Like this is still a sanitized version of like what it really was. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like so it's just like it's insane to me how like people have the nerve to come out and say so. Well, it's not about that. Like this isn't about that, but it's more so like interesting to me seeing the dialogue online about how some people, and you know, especially when in regards to their background, you know what I'm saying, that's what's interesting about the show too, because like
Right.
it'll affect you, especially more so if you're black, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
especially you know what I'm saying, it's like a show for black people rather, you know what I'm saying, so it's kind of just like
And,
it's just like it's accessible, yes, you know what I'm saying, but it's
mhm,
intrinsic in that other sense, you know
mhm.
what I'm saying, so it's just like, I don't know, Chris, it's just like that it was so good, bro. Like
It was
even
really
when
good. I would say it was the
yeah,
best series of the year. And it better win all the awards. Like a Emmy sweep, like a la of, you know, Schitt's Creek. Like it better win everything. Everything. Um, and then like you don't see black people in the roles like, you know, horror or sci-fi. And that's what was just so refreshing, and just having these stories. Even though it wasn't like totally original, it was still like, you know,
they're like strong characters, you know what I'm saying? Strong characters. Like oftentimes in these films, like black characters would be like, you know, one-offs or they'd be killed off. You know what I'm saying? Or
right,
just like,
exactly.
you know, or typecasted. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it's so frustrating. But like this show, it's just like people, and it was interesting too because like with Atticus, right? When he shot the nurse, in that episode, in the episode when they were in Korea, or whatever,
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
with the Nine-Tails Fox, he killed the nurse, and a lot of people online were just like, oh, he's irredeemable now. You know what I'm saying? Irredeemable. You know, and I'm just like, in what sense? You know, in the sense that, like, you know, when you look at it in context, you know what I'm saying? You would understand that it makes him a flawed character. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Or when he called his dad the F word.
Yeah.
They tried to count him out too with that.
Right. That's another thing. Like, how could he be like not accepting? And I'm just like, you got to remember the era of America. You know what I'm saying? And I'm kind of just like, it's just like interracial relationships alone. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, and it's just like, it's crazy to me, you know. But it's that's what makes the show so good though, because I feel like the people who write it off, they're missing out. You know what I'm saying? Right away, they're missing out. It's a guarantee. It might not, if it's not your show, it's not your show. I get that. I respect that. But if you write it off in the sense that you're just like, oh, I thought it was gonna be this, and it's stupid now. Like, or you're just like, you know, because people be ignorant about their approach. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of, for example, with the name Lovecraft itself, a lot of fans from Lovecraft will go in, you know what I'm saying, expecting it to be like a cosmic horror in the sense that, you know, it's going to be some entity from outer space with 1,000 eyes and 1,000,000 tongues, you know what I'm saying, driving you insane, you know. But I'm just like, and then they were going to complain that it's not scary. And I'm like, yo, for me, every scene where the characters went anywhere was terrifying. You know what I'm saying? And like that's because I'm just like, oh shit, like who's to say that they won't get stopped? You know what I'm saying? Get stuck in a sundown town. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
I would say, like, what was scary, I would say episode 1, that caught me off guard. Episode 3 with the ghosts, that was scary. And episode 8 with, you know, the picky-headed twins or whatever.
Yeah, Thompson.
That was scary with those fucking whatever, those elongated nails and shit like that.
The Freddy Krueger, yo.
Don't even say that name. Anywho, moving on. It's just like Candyman. Do not say that shit around me.
What's that behind you?
Stop it. I will end this right now. So as far as it, you know, you said about the characters, I mean, the acting is phenomenal. Yeah. The newcomer, what's his name? The star of the show, Jonathan Majors, is Tick or whatever, but I would say my favorite character is Letitia. Letitia is my favorite character by Journey Smollett. For those of you who watch Pop Roast, you know, Sissy Smollett, he who's sister. And I'm glad that, you know, she's, you know, not anywhere near Jussie or anything like that, but she's being seen as an actress. Episode 3 was like, well, I was like, okay, she's phenomenal. Get out of my house! Like, amazing. I love her. She's my favorite character in the show. The girl who does Christina, she's good too, who I think should play Emma Frost if they ever bring her in the MCU.
You think so?
I think so. Like she would do a good Emma Frost.
What scene would you reference in that regard?
When she first, like episode 2, or like just her whole manner. Like I just think she has the look.
From her introduction,
cut her hair a little bit. She would be a good Emma Frost.
Yeah, I see it.
But anyway,
no, I'm gonna say I see it.
But yeah, like the acting was just phenomenal. Who was your favorite character in the show?
I liked Atticus a lot.
Yeah.
I did like him a lot. Up until I don't know. I just didn't like his approach to a lot of his situations. You know what I'm saying? I know it was the result of like PTSD, trauma from, you know, the war, you know what I'm saying, growing up as a black man in Jim Crow's America, you know, Chicago. Just all the redlining that was going on over there. In general, fucking I like Letitia.
I do think like the women really carried the show too. I mean, from Letitia to the actress that played
Ruby,
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 to
I was very
Hippolyta.
impressed with. Hippolyta was
Hippolyta,
great.
like, oh my God. um,
Hippolyta.
the Asian chick, I feel bad. I forgot her
Jihad
name.
or
Jamie,
Jihad, yeah.
from Real World.
Jimmy Chung or whatever.
Yeah, Jamie Chung from Real World. That's how. I mean, I'm sure she played in other things, but
I know
for her
her
to
from
start from Real
Sorority
World
Row.
is crazy. Yeah, she was in Sorority Row.
Yeah, that's a horror. Yo, that was a good, like, yo, that was a good remake. That shit was like a guilty pleasure of mine. You know what I'm saying?
Is
Funny
that
as
a horror
hell.
movie?
Yeah, but it's like a slasher. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It stars. They have some. I don't want to get into that, but it's a good.
She was in Dragon Ball Z too. That horrible movie.
She's in a lot of shit. She's in a
Right,
lot of
but she
shit.
really like. It was a stellar performance that she gave.
Especially this last episode. This
Oh
last
yeah, yeah.
episode, when and then like that scene, like, not too many people talk about it, but the scene at the bridge when they were like in the tunnel, the bridge tunnel, and they had the white people at both ends. You know what I'm saying? And they came, and she was just like, yo, that shit had me so fucking hype. I was just like, oh my god.
Before I get to discussing the season finale, I also liked how I almost got like a history lesson out of this show, like from the Chicago riots to Tulsa to Emmett Till. I mean, of course, I knew about Emmett Till already, but I didn't know that much about Tulsa riots. And I gotta say, I don't think I heard about Tulsa riots unless I like found it out on my own during college. They didn't teach me that in high school.
That's crazy about it, son. Like that's really bananas. Like to me, it's insane. Like it's like, and that's not the only riot. You know what I'm saying? Or massacre, or bombing. You know what I'm saying? That's not like it's just like, man. But that's what's important about media like this. You know what I'm saying? That's what's important about what this type of representation, this type of like recognition. You know what I'm saying? For people to recognize just how awful and how much we need to like surpass. You know what I'm saying? Just like trying to shy away from shit like that. And instead recognize it and grow from it. You know what I'm saying? And move on. It's like I don't know if that's even gonna be possible though, Chris. To be honest, that's way too optimistic.
Yeah, I just appreciate the show, like integrating that into it. Because I know it started out from this racist piece of shit author to another author, like changing the story around for Black people in the narrative, right? And then I'm guessing, Misha Green, with the help of Jordan Peele and J.J. Abrams, to make her vision come to life. That's basically the timeline, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how it worked. You got it. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So finally, like, amazing season so far. What did you think about, I'm guessing, just like the season finale as it by itself being wrapped in a little bow or trying to end it? Because I hear some polarizing conversations about it, like what they did, it was a little sloppy. But I think it's hard across any show to make a good season finale, to wrap it up. It's hard for certain shows. Specifically Ryan Murphy. He's a repeat offender in not knowing how to wrap a season up.
Well, we're not Ryan Murphy. Yeah, he definitely he's like wiping out clean. But with this finale, it wasn't the strongest episode of the season.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was, but even still, with the type of show that this is, even like not the strongest show, it's still like a great show in its own sense. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how good it is. So
I was still on the edge of my seat during the whole
thing. It's just like, it makes you the finale just left me wanting more. You know what I'm saying? It left me wishing that they had an extra episode to split the pacing up a bit. You know what I'm saying?
HBO, they normally give a show 8 episodes. So for them to get 10, and then I heard like this show took 3 years to make.
Did it? I don't know. I'm not gonna.
I want to say at least 2 years.
Yeah, I would say so because I remember hearing about it, like and I
didn't hear anything about how long.
I remember how long pre-production was, or anything related to like the production in general. I don't know how long that shit was. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? But I do remember hearing about it on like the regular sites, like Bloody Disgusting. You know what I'm saying? They were talking about it. It's like this horror website, you know.
Mhm.
They were talking about it, saying that they were gonna adapt it along the same time that they were talking about Stephen King stories. But yeah, I didn't know it was gonna be like this, Chris. Honestly,
But I know a lot of people were complaining, like, I got into so many, like,
because they were talking about how it was like some people didn't like. Well, it really just depends too, because a lot of people I saw didn't like Christina's um fate. You know what I'm saying? I want to say that they
Christina's
wanted to,
fate. Oh,
yeah, Christina's fate. Like they wanted her to be they didn't think she deserved to die by Dina. I mean by not Dina, Dee's hand. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And they didn't want they didn't they I felt like they a lot of people sympathized with her. You
It's
know what I'm
crazy,
saying?
yeah. But I mean, I feel like Christina as a character was just an allegory for white supremacy, current white supremacy right now.
Right, right,
Using
right.
black people for your personal gain. I'm guessing that, like, oh, because she gave Letty the spell to, like, resurrect her or whatever. Like, I'm guessing people were feeling sorry for her. I don't know.
They were like they were just like, oh, that scene when she was just like, oh, if my spell doesn't work,
Which I had
I'm
to
gonna kill that.
catch, by the way.
Yeah. There was. And she's like, if my spell doesn't work, then I'm gonna kill the last member of my family. You know what I'm saying? When she already killed a lodge full of them motherfuckers. You know what I'm
Right. I
saying?
think she
And
was a
it's
pragmatic villain. Like, it's kind of like, okay,
right,
we have sympathy for Thanos, or
right. Because in my opinion, you know, rather than fucking push forward with the spell that would kill Atticus, I would instead realize, oh shit, now they do have the book of names. Let me try and work, you know what I'm saying, to get in their good graces, you know what I'm saying, or work for that, you know what I'm saying, type
I
of
think it would have made
opportunity.
for a good show.
Yeah, but even still, she could have been a swoop-de-doop type of villain later on, you know what I'm saying, in season
Mm.
three.
I
Backstab the
liked
whole
her
fucking.
as a villain, though.
I did like that villain a lot,
She's a
yeah. She was,
sympathetic villain because at first I was like, she
I don't
really
think she was
didn't do
sympathetic.
anything that bad until
What do you mean?
she killed Ruby.
You didn't see episode 2 when she subjected them to that torture with fucking Letitia?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then fucking
Okay.
when she did to Ruby, in the beginning when she basically seduced her. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And exploited her through magic. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it was just like I feel like she was always like, and like she said, she was just like, oh, all my moves are calculated. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And it's just like to the minutia of the finest detail. Like I'm just like, girl, relax. So, um, nah, bro. I don't feel like she was sympathetic, in my opinion. You know, I just feel like people were
Hmm.
easy to like forgive her because of how her actor portrayed her, the
I
storyline she
always thought
had.
she was a villain, though. I just was like, okay, well, she wasn't like a clear cut villain like her dad or Lancaster, but she was still a villain.
Right, and that's what I like about the show. It wasn't like she was the main villain of the show, to be honest. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But she wasn't cartoonish. You know,
She was complex.
right, exactly. You know, because like people I saw on Twitter, they were just like, "Oh, is she self-serving or is she a villain?" And I'm
Right.
like, why can't she be both? You know what I'm saying? She's because
Exactly.
often villains see themselves as self-serving. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So it's kind of just like, wow.
So
Mm.
with that said, like, should there be a season two? Does it need a season two, or should they just?
There definitely needs to be a season 2. The question more so should be, would season 2 be an anthology or will it be a continuation of
Or
the
it could
ongoing
be
story?
like the multiverse. Even
Yeah,
though,
yeah,
like, Marvel's going in that direction with the multiverse.
right. Because like, and she even mentioned about Attica, how this was like just the tip of the iceberg, really, and like the lore of the world that she's creating. You know what I'm saying? When you think about it, like there's so much that they can touch base on. So many timelines. You know, whether past, future. You know what I'm saying? Because Atticus did go to the future. you know, and then
Right.
there's like, and there's a whole storyline there, and then like what Hippolyta did, you know, and it's just like what all of that introduced, all of those elements that are introduced into the story, and Lovecraft himself, you know, it's not just Shagga and Cthulhu, you know, it's not just monsters like that. It's also you know, just the scope of his fiction. You know what I'm saying? That they can pull from to keep continuing to like build up on these stories. You know what I'm saying? Like Stephen King used this to create like a plethora of fucking monsters and fiction, you know
Right.
what I'm saying, and callbacks and references. You know what I'm saying? Lovecraft is like, as racist as he was like a pioneer in the genre for what he did. You know
Right.
what I'm saying, in terms of like what he built. But at the end of the day, that's what makes it fun though. Like just like kicking him down by using his work against him, you know?
Yeah.
Because
His work.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, I would want a season 2, I think, and now it feels like, you know, what I'm gonna do Sundays now, you know. I just got
yeah.
fucking Housewives and that's it now. So
But wait, for season 2, would you want it to be a continuation or an anthology?
I wouldn't mind it being an anthology. I wouldn't mind it being where it's a multiverse plot, or I wouldn't mind it being like D as the focus.
Yeah.
So
D
that's,
is the focus?
I mean, it can work.
How do you feel about D as the character then, like in general?
I think she, you know, from where she started to where she ended, that's too, like, you know, she's come a long way. Even if
Yeah,
she wasn't a focal point of the movie. I mean, she wasn't a focal point of the series, but she
that's
went
true.
through a lot.
That's true. That's true. I feel like she grew the quickest in like what she had to deal with, and like she didn't have the support that the other characters did in the show. You know what I'm saying? She was
Right.
often alone. You know what I'm saying? Because like
Yeah.
from, you know, and even from like the jump of Emmett Till. You know what I'm saying? It was just like,
Hmm.
even like honestly from before that. You know, because of Uncle George. You know, it was just
It was like first her dad, then her
yeah,
friend, and then her mom. I'm just like, Jesus.
yeah. And then she loses her arm. You know, like,
What more can we do? She was like Precious almost. Like, oh, well, she's fat, she's abused, she's pregnant. Let's give her AIDS too. You know, like it was just so much. I swear it's
yo,
not funny. It's not supposed to be funny, but I'm just saying. It's an example.
it's pretty funny.
But yes, love the show. I think I would give it a solid A, don't you think?
An A? I think so. I would go with an A,
Not an A
honestly.
plus, but I would say like a solid
No,
A.
an A plus is really fucking hard. This show was really damn close to an A plus. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But it was a solid A. Yes, it is. Like, and man, this show is it's so good because you could keep watching it. You can watch it over again and like notice different things. You know what
With
I'm
the
saying? Or
Easter
like,
eggs in every episode.
yeah, you know, from like to actual real life fiction. You know what I'm saying? It makes you look back into it and look deep into things and just like, I don't know, like yo. They did
Right.
that. You know, she did
They,
that.
they definitely did that.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you for coming on and discussing this with me. Because I
No,
just felt like I couldn't just do this alone. I needed some help, especially I think because you know what you're talking about when it, you know, you've seen the source material, etc. Where can they
so,
find you on social media if they choose to follow you?
so you can follow me on Twitter. I just got a new account because I had been there, done that. You know, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay,
I have
fine.
a new account. You can find me at Kebby Rude. That's KEBIIRUDE.
Okay. But yes, thank y'all for tuning in to Chris Talks or Cdiggi Talks. It's still, you know, to be determined. But yeah, thank y'all, and I will see y'all next week for the next guest. So I will see y'all later.
All
Bye.
right.